Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 1st August 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. Haribol TRSV nectar NECTAR nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and this video so that I may keep reminding you of my other videos when you press the bell icon of this vlog. So let us continue with the discussion of the topic for today. For the past few videos, we have been trying to analyze the human psyche and delve deep into what makes the total human psyche of a living entity during a particular birth. In this process, we have already come to know that there are four major factors and several subsidiary factors that make the psyche of or the overall psyche of a human living entity during a particular birth. How it happens, we have tried to find out through the study of several case histories to find out how a particular psyche of a particular human living entity, whether male or female, is formed. Today, in that process, we shall discuss about another such case history. So here it goes. In the last decades of the 19th century and right into the 20th century of India, there lived one Mehra family which became quite successful as a business house and an enterprise in the business of Indian commerce and business. The patriarch of this family was one very intelligent and successful enterprising gentleman called Mehra. In the year 1910, in the month of June, one son was born to this Mr. Mehra. It is the case history of this son that we are going to study in this particular case history. This boy was christened Janaki Das. Janaki Das Mehra became this boy's full name. His prarabdha karma, that is the first factor that affects the psyche of a human a living entity, began when he was born into this affluent and illustrious family. Prarabdha karma is that slice of karma that a human living entity brings along with himself or herself to be worked out in a particular lifetime. This prarabdha karma becomes the foundation of the career and life of that particular living entity during one lifetime. This slice of unworked karma is a slice taken out of the large storage of unworked karma that is already stored in the superconscious memory of that living entity. This karma or this storage is known as Sanchit karma. Now, we have discussed about the first factor that made or will make the psyche of Janaki Das. He was born with a golden spoon in his mouth, as a result of which this boy grew up as a spoiled but intelligent, educated, very talented and capable but slightly wayward youth. He became more and more skeptical and cynical as he grew up. Janaki Das was quite intelligent, and so he was a multifaceted personality. He was an educated youth who excelled in cycling in sports and who used to do lots of comic jobs during his company with others in the family and outside. He was a type of one man comedy in his circle at that time. After he grew up, this boy began using his second factor that builds the psyche of a human living entity. This second factor is known as Kriyaman Karma. Kriyaman Karma is based on the free will that destiny and the Supreme Personality of Godhead has bestowed to his or her living entity during his or her lifetime to exercise his energy in doing some karma which is based on that person's evolvement, intelligence, experience, maturity, surrounding circumstances, peer pressure, etc. Here, something which is according to the psyche of that particular living entity in that particular birth. Janaki Das was no exception. He also began using his free will and so his Kriyamana Karma to become a cyclist who participated in the 1936 Olympics that were held in Berlin, Germany. This made this boy internationally famous as a young man. By the time he was in his early to mid 20s, this boy had already already become a star of sorts. This helped him get notoriety to become or make his own life something of a success in the tinsel town of Bombay, Maharashtra. So this boy was gushing with young blood one day upped and left for Bombay for good. Here, just because he was already a star of sorts as a cyclist in the Olympics, he began getting bit roles in films. But here, this boy's initial skepticism took over his psyche, and the third factor that influences the psyche of a living entity took over his brain. This third factor is based on vibrations that are transmitted by the subtle body of a human living entity to the brain of the gross body. There are three subtle bodies of every human living entity besides his or her gross body. These three subtle bodies are known as causal body of intelligence, astral body of mind, feelings, and emotions, and the etheric body of senses. This boy, whose father had spent most of his life listening to the vibrations from the causal body of intelligence, because of his own stupidity, short sightedness, and cynicism, began listening to the etheric senses and the astral mind and their vibrations that were being transmitted to the brain of this living entity called Janaki Das. The prarabdha karma was long over. The kriyamana karma was in full bloom, and this boy's third factor of vibrations was being listened to by this guy according to his own whims and fantasies. This had a detrimental effect, a decidedly detrimental effect on this boy's future career. He had already become an actor of sorts, but he did not know how to act in serious roles or to do the best of his or to use the best of his talents to become a star in the film industry. Here he failed miserably just because he was the son of a businessman, and so he was more interested in production and direction rather than acting in film industries. Lots of unnecessary controversies followed, and because of the cynicism that he showed to his producers, they got irritated sooner or later and began shying away from signing for their own films lest this boy could create more trouble than solve their problems in filmmaking. Slowly, this boy's market as an actor began eroding. At that time, when this boy was in his late 20s or mid 30s, his father, who was observing him dispassionately till then, was urged by his boy's mother to go and bail out this prodigal son. So the father came to Bombay to look up business in Bombay and to see what his wayward son was doing. At that time, because of his father's backing, this guy decided to become a producer and an actor. The father humored him and invested in a project. When he did so, they hired a German director to direct this boy in a particular movie. This German was very worldly wise and intelligent. He knew that Mr. Mehra had an absolute fool as a son, and so the German tried to fleece them of millions while making this film. However, not all was not lost because they came across a thin, wiry Indian boy who was the assistant of this German director while making this film. This boy began talking with Janaki Das and they got close. Janaki Das introduced this boy to his father. The experienced and wily old man looked at this young man for some time and told Janaki Das, take care to listen to this very intelligent boy because he is going to bail you out from this film when I am not here. This boy will go up to the sea heights provided he takes care of his health. He looks very weak. Janaki Das smiled. He also thought that this boy was not taking care of his health. Actually, it was not so. This boy was built that way. The name of this boy was Laudho Varaprasad. This guy was a South Indian who was assisting that German director to make a film for Janaki Das. Anyway, after fleecing them for a couple of lakhs or thousands, this German left abruptly and left the film incomplete. Janaki Das was left high and dry without a film. After some time, this Laudho Prasad made himself scarce. Soon worse was to follow in Janaki Das' life. Actually, it was a mixed bag of good and bad experiences or occurrences in his lifetime. His father expired and Janaki Das came to inherit a couple of millions. Now Janaki Das, in his short-sightedness, thought that he was a king of his own destiny and that he could do anything that he wanted. Of course, this was true, but here the fourth major factor that makes up the psyche of a living entity came to the fore. This factor is known as false ego. False ego is the type of ego that a living entity experiences when he or she identifies with his or her gross and other bodies. That is, this person decides to identify with the four layers of material body that envelop his spirit soul, his or her spirit soul. Janaki Das, because of his money and his status, came into a lot of arrogance and foolhardy decisions based on his fourth factor, that is, the false ego. False ego, listening to wrong vibrations and using his willpower and kriyamana karma as per his own whims and fantasies, brought Janaki Das to the streets more fast or speedier than it had helped him climb up the ladder of destiny. Janaki Das must have done something very good in his past birth, as a result of which he brought a slice of prarabdha karma with himself, such that it made him be born in an illustrious family. This guy would have continued to use his own Kriya Mana Karma to increase his status in the society, but instead, because of his overconfidence, cynicism, and skepticism, he was brought to the road faster than he could realize. By the time Janaki Das was in his mid 40s, he was on the roads high and dry, and he began regretting whatever he had done in the past 45 years. However, all was not lost yet. Probably it was because of Janaki Das' past karma. One day, in the area of Juhu in Bombay, this guy was sitting on a pavement and shedding copious tears at his own plight when one swanky limousine passed by. Janaki Das ignored it. This limousine went to some distance and then turned back, or the driver reversed the limousine to come near Janaki Das. Janaki Das was intrigued. One thin young man got up. Young or middle-aged man got out of that car. He came, smiled at Janaki Das and said, I am the same Laudho Varaprasad who is now called L.V. Prasad, who used to be an assistant to the German director who tried to make a film for you. Even then, I told you to be careful with this German director, but you did not heed to my advice. Janaki Das was shocked. He suddenly remembered what his father had told him. This young man will go very high provided he would take care of his health. This L.V. Prasad, who was just an ordinary director in that film in which Janaki Das himself was the hero, was now traveling in a limousine. Janaki Das caught the straw that was trying to help to drown him into the sea. He grabbed the straw and he prayed fervently to L.V. Prasad to bail him out. L.V. Prasad graciously agreed. He asked Janaki Das what he was doing then. Janaki Das told him his own pathetic story. He had lost all his millions and he was down on the roads without money, without career, without profession, or without a job. L.V. Prasad knew that Janaki Das was from a business family. So L.V. Prasad gave Janaki Das a job as a production designer in his own production house. Janaki Das grabbed this opportunity just like an intelligent guy grabs a job when it is thrown to him as a straw before getting drowned. Janaki Das became a production designer there and then. His career began picking up. Now his Kriyamana Karma, thanks to his bitter experiences of the big bad world, had made him see straight and try to do something positive. This made Janaki Das a successful production designer, writer, and secretary to various film actors. Thus, Janaki Das began earning good money. He was, though skeptical and cynical, actually at heart a very nice guy. He was also multifaceted and intelligent, as a result of which Janaki Das' psyche became more or less positive, but alas, his karma due to his Kriyamana karma were not as sacrosanct as his own Prarabdha karma was in this birth. Anyway, Janaki Das did not harm anyone except himself. He had probably decided to learn about life the hard way, and now he had done so. Janaki Das became a production designer, a producer, a writer, an actor, and a comedian. He remained like this for around 50 to 60 years in this film industry in Bombay, and ultimately he died at the age of 90 or 91 in the year 2001 or 2. This shows how the mighty can fall and how the humble can rise in this life in this material world. As we had discussed before, life is just a cycle. What goes up has to come down, and what is down has to come up. Janaki Das was born to millions, but he came to downfall sooner than he had ever imagined he will, and he had to get a job from the very person who was a nobody several years back when Janaki Das was a film actor and a hero, and this boy was nothing but an ordinary assistant to the director who made that film. L.V. Prasad had come up the hard way, and Janaki Das had gone down faster than he could even realize it. This shows how important it is for us to be careful while treading every step in this bad world. Life is a hard ground of realities. We must all understand this, and whatever may be our prarabdha karma, we must all try to use our own free will and kriyamana karma in such a way that our sanchit karma or storage of karma becomes better and better than what it was before. Our another birth or the next birth must certainly be better than our current birth. It must never be the other way round. The ultimate goal is for a person to reach a level of status in the material world, whether very high or medium, but never low. And then, once he or she has reached that level in the material world, gradually switch over to spiritualism and start contemplating and meditating on life as such. The ultimate aim for every living entity is to get self realized, realizing his own actual identity in this material and spiritual world, get liberated from this endless cycle of birth and death, and finally get delivered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That must be the ultimate aim of every human living entity. And so we must shape our life in every lifetime towards that direction or to go successfully in that particular direction. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular case history. Please give me your own opinions, thoughts, ideas, and views so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.